I knew that some of my constituents didn't have access to broadband, and some didn't have access to even DSL. I noticed how fast Verizon was coming into the marketplace with digging up a lot of residents' yards in my community and where I represent, and doing it in a very reckless manner, and that grabbed my attention. I didn't know anything about this issue at first, and I was wondering how they were moving so fast to have deployment of broadband, but yet people didn't have broadband. See, so I saw the rate of speed that they were moving, but yet people didn't have, some of my communities didn't have it, and it made me wonder. So a couple of my constituents really sat down with me about this issue, and one of them in particular briefed me very well on the issue and allowed me to really understand the marketplace. I was in a unique position because I sit on the Economic Matters Committee in the Maryland General Assembly. So I knew that I could, take a go at this issue, and that's really how it all at least came to light a day for me. And I knew I had to react to this because someone needed to take a stand. It was House Bill 1069, and House Bill 1069 had two components of the measure. It was a simple bill, but it had two very strong components that put, I guess, fear or whatever word you want to use to the telcos, to the cable companies. One was, we want you to report your broadband deployment to our Public Service Commission. The second was the net neutrality, which was taken right out of the AT&T Bell South merger agreement under the conditions that they made to the FCC about net neutrality content. So that would affect 20 states in our country. So I felt if 20 states in the country could sort of have an agreement like that, then Maryland should have it too, for Verizon and whoever else is going to play here offering that type of service in Maryland. So that basically was the two components. It was a very simple bill, really just 3 pages. Well, consumers, I mean, the net neutrality content, we want to keep the internet neutral. We don't want discrimination, and we want to keep it on the level playing field that it is now. I don't want to see discrimination. I don't want to see discrimination with content, and I don't want to see discrimination as to, where they place broadband. I don't want it just somewhere. We want it everywhere. So those are the two factors when you look at discrimination. Discrimination on who would even get access, and then once you have access, to what extent do you really have access if the internet doesn't remain neutral to everybody? The obstacles to the bill was people don't know this issue, and the telcos that are powerful, and as you know, in U.S. Congress, and of course powerful in state legislatures. I knew Congress wasn't acting on this. I didn't know what the FCC did. When I looked at some of the movement the FCC was making, it didn't look like there was much going on. I don't know if they were going in the right direction. I don't know if Congress was addressing this issue properly. Things didn't make sense. So I decided as a state, we could do certain things. We could at least, with the net neutrality, because we're preempted by federal law, but I thought at least that we could make a preference. Non-binding language, which is what we had, that we took straight out of the conditions that they made to the FCC, the AT&T Bell South merger. And that language we deemed as basically the preference of the state of Maryland. And that language, again, threatened the big telcos and the cable companies. And they have the power, because of their influence in legislative bodies. They were able to get out and define what this issue was, and they put a lot of misinformation out into to the community here, the legislative community, and they were able to confuse the issue. And the legislature felt that we were preempted in acting, and the Attorney General wound up, strangely enough, rendering two opinions. One, they said that it looked like that there was some federal preemption, and then they came back with another letter clarifying their first letter, saying that we were not federally preempted from giving the preference of what we want the internet to be in Maryland, and also just requesting that the telcos and cable companies give a full footprint, a blueprint, if you will, to our Public Service Commission that is supposed to handle utilities and so forth, and manage it to the benefit of consumers. All in all, the bill failed. It died in committee. And what we see that happens here is, one, the big telcos and cable companies have the power to define. And whoever has the power to define anything in life normally has control over what they're doing, because they can define you. They can define it. And they were able to define this issue in the Maryland legislature. But let me just say that we really need to stay active. I'm staying optimistic. I'm going to keep pushing this issue. I plan on filing 2 pieces of legislation. Instead of making it one legislation with the 2 components that I've described, I'm going to have probably 2 pieces of legislation next year, and I'm going to keep pushing, because right now this industry is unchecked, and it's very little regulation that we're seeing, and somebody needs to stand up and act, and I'm willing to do that. I just need the help of people.